Welcome to episode 31 of the Employer Content Marketing Pod. And this is part 2 of my chat with Stephen Brand, where we talk about talent communities. Stephen is talent attraction, marketing and experience lead at HSBC, and we'll talk about a few things in part 2. We cover examples of organisations who are creating content worthy of talent communities, and how you can nurture people in your talent communities into hires, and also what the ROI of well-run talent communities looks like. Let's get on with the chat. Considering what Accenture, Live and the Morgan Stanley GradFest are doing in terms of the variety of content they were doing, which is far beyond just the, this is us as an organisation and this is why you should join us. I really do think there's going to be like a more demand on the content that comes after that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So I think historically we would sort of congratulate ourselves on having won and done the event well with the number of signups and attendees that something like Accenture Live had. You would look at that and go, there you go, job done. And I think what we need to, and what I'm sure Accenture will do, what other organisations will do is challenge themselves to actually that's just the start of it. What we've done is we have been interesting and engaging enough to capture interest, but we've also set a precedent for the kind of access and the kind of content that we offer to this audience. And our challenge is how we can deliver that on an ongoing basis. So we can't do flagship events like Accenture Live on a recurring, on anything like a sort of regular basis. So then how do we maintain that relationship, that interest? How do we not let it slide away and just become sort of a memory and again, let the relationship ebb away? How do we keep them close and build on that initial connection? So we made a real big effort to create a strong bond, a strong and quick bond by putting this event on. How do we maintain that? How do we build on it? What's our content strategy for that? Because that in a way is harder because we don't have a big bang flagship ticket to sort of hang it around. It has to be about our consistency, how we learn, what people engage with, how people like to consume content, the platforms they like it in, the format of it, all of those kind of things. So we have to really, do the hard yards now. We've had the we're talking about the rounds. We've had the award ceremony. We've had our big sort of glitzy event. Now it's back to the day job and the sort of the consistency of delivering insightful content on an ongoing basis, so that all of the goodwill we've built up with our big event isn't lost, and we can convert that at a point later in time when it's right, when we've got the right roles, when we need that audience to take an action for us. So I think that's almost the mindset, is how do I, if I don't have an existing database or an existing community, how can I generate one from a standing start? And so the Accenture event and things are great ways to do that. But then the hard work really starts in terms of sort of building and continuing that relationship. And I think what we're also seeing at Accenture Live is another good example. I'm sure things like, I think I've seen the Lloyd's Good Fest and various other ones where there's an increasing focus on, I guess, societal issues being part of your content planning and strategy. So yes, you have your careers events and your careers based sessions, but also you're aware of your audience's concerns around mental health and well-being and those kind of things. So the content of your event, and then the ongoing content strategy starts to broaden out its pillars and its topics around not just what you as an organization are interested in and talking about, but learning what is in the minds of the audience. What do they need to hear from you? What are the things that are keeping them awake at night, and what are you doing about them? Which is again where it becomes reciprocal. So it's not just your broadcast platform to say, here are the things we love, shout about them, but it's about what are you interested in, what worries you, what excites you, what are you looking forward to, what are you worried about, and how can we help and support? So you kind of do all of that stuff, you learn all of that stuff, and then you're providing something that's valuable on an ongoing basis. People are looking out for the stuff that comes through. So I think that kind of ongoing relationship is it's like any relationship. I'm not going to get into the cynical husband routine, but any relationship, it takes work, and it's not always glamorous and exciting, but it takes work. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here is sort of building a relationship that will last, not something that's just built around sort of big campaign interventions, but something that really will stand the test of time. And I think that that doesn't need a massive budget. It just does require quite a lot of thought and quite a lot of your time to get right, I think.
Yeah, because the relationship with a potential employer can last the whole career, can't it? Really think about it. Whether it's someone who has applied and decided not to take the offer, or had applied, got through the process and didn't get selected, or even joined that organization but left the organization and might come back later on. It's a long relationship, so it's worth putting the groundwork in at the beginning. That's for sure.
Exactly right. Exactly. Boomerangs and alumni, all of these kind of things are just little things that again, you can, I think, if they already exist, if an alumni strategy is already in place, because obviously for a lot of organizations, alumni are future customers and things, then I think it can be about how can I support what's already happening there, because yes, we're interested in those individuals either returning to us in a professional capacity, or they understand what it takes to work here and be successful here. So as a source of referrals, these people are gold mines. So how can that be one of the messages we send, and how do I fit in with what else the company wants to talk to them about? So then it's not so much again about having to own something, but about having a conversation with the right person to just make your messaging a part of that calendar, a soft background part of that calendar, so that careers, referrals, those kind of things are never out of their minds. But like you say, it should be, if you do a good job and you offer a good experience when people work there, then the relationship will always end positively. Even if it ends in, it has to end in a redundancy, that doesn't necessarily have to be a negative burn all bridges kind of experience. There are ways to handle it and ways to support people afterwards that mean that if the opportunity arose to rejoin, they would take it. It can be managed, if it's managed with some time and some thought and some care. Then it can be done. If it's automated, and I'm a member of a couple of alumni emails, and they are to a degree, they look auto-generated. There's no sort of personalization to them. There might be every once in a while something interested in them, but that always feels more by accident than intent. And it never feels like it's really, to me, you feel like you're one on a mailing list. I think if you can be a little bit more thoughtful about what job I used to do, what age bracket I'm in, what the circumstances of my leaving, where you can be a bit more thoughtful around what I might like to receive, therefore. And that just keeps the relationship a little bit closer, because I don't feel like I'm a stranger again. So I think it's managing that sort of stuff. So it's this human sort of intelligence I think we all have. It's allowing ourselves the time to do it well, I can imagine, is the big challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, the good thing is that you're not starting from zero, because an organization, organizations have so much knowledge, and if you ask someone to talk about something, about their particular area, whether it's about the role they work in, or the market they work in, or the applications they screen, there's a vast amount of knowledge that can, that means you can tap into those stories, of course, but also all of that advice. So you look at kind of organizations that are having thousands of applications each year, you think they would be in a good position to provide advice on what traits are worth developing, or when it comes to going to assessment centers, or when it comes to that final stage interview. How do you look at yourself and understand your skills and abilities the most, especially when you're looking from an early careers perspective? So I think that's the good thing, is that there isn't a standing start, but as you say, it does require time to actually kind of plan that all out, and I suppose eke out those bits of content, whether they exist already and need repurposing, or they just need, tapping from the right people.
Yeah,
It's
and
definitely there.
Yeah, you'll know that the difference you can see between a frequently asked questions document that is effectively a Word cut and pasted into a .com page, and somebody talking, running through it to camera. The content is the same, the message is the same, but just taking the time to have a member of the recruitment team maybe walk through it, share a couple of examples, is a much more useful and insightful document, just because it's likely to be referenced more often than a sort of static FAQs that are easy to go past. So it's again thinking about, not have we done it? Yes, we've got an FAQ, but is it in a format that is useful and helpful for the audience we're trying to reach? So if a lot of our audience is on mobile, would it be beneficial to have that FAQ in a different format, because it's easier to consume on that device, rather than it's easier for me to produce it just as a written document? So that's what I'm going to do. We've got to think a little bit more about inconveniencing ourselves if it conveniences the audience. If you want to be first choice, if you want to be, in a sea of sort of broadly similar job offers, you want to be the one that they apply to first. It will be the little touches probably that are the things that we're not the big ticket things. It will be the little approaches you take, the little extra care and extra thought you put into some of this stuff. So again, it's not creating from scratch, as you say. It's just thinking always what's going to be most valuable for the audience, what's going to be most useful for them. Can I deliver them something that's a bit more useful than what we have now? Making that change and then learning. And sometimes you get it right and sometimes you get it wrong.
Exactly.
But you'll learn and you'll move on and you'll get better. And that's what we all just try and do, isn't it?
And that inconvenience, is something that just usually happens later on down the line. Inconvenience of having to screen X number of more applications, inconvenience of having to have someone join and actually then not being the right fit for that organization, or vice versa, and then ending up leaving. We know there's the inconvenience further down the line is very costly, isn't it? So if you can kind of bring that inconvenience further forward, and with that thinking and with that thinking about the audience and creating that right content for them, then you'd hope there will be, you would expect there to be a big impact on things further down the line, because people are being put off joining an organization because they understand that actually it's not the right fit for them, rather than finding that out when someone actually joins the organization and lots of hours and money is spent on getting to that stage.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what a lot of the sort of recruitment marketing content should be focused on doing, is not so much, because it's it's a really difficult thing to do in a job ad, in a a piece of recruitment marketing, to match somebody to a job and to bring that job to life. I think it's far more it's probably a far better use of effort to focus in that sort of, in those broad channels and the broader audiences, to focus on the type of organization, the type of work, the culture, meeting some of the people, those kind of things, rather than into specific roles. And the specific role matching and things can come a bit later. But absolutely, the focus of the work of recruitment marketing, content marketing should be, and the value to the business should be, I'm not about delivering you more applications. Most organizations get too many applications, and have to spend an awful lot of man hours and time disappointing people who have taken time to apply. So it's not that not enough applications come in, too many do, but they're kind of made because there isn't enough information for me to not apply. I don't know enough to know that this isn't right for me. So yes, so content marketing, both external channels but also to the talent communities, should be focused on, you know, what it really takes to work at the organization. And that might mean, you know, you might have a significant number of people that are still perfectly happy swimming in your community and perfectly allowed to stay, but who will never be right for the organization, just won't be a fit for it at all. But, you know, there's value for them in it. It doesn't hurt us for them to be there. That's absolutely fine. We take that, I guess, as a positive, happy side effect of the work we're doing. But yeah, it shouldn't be about trying to persuade and convince everybody that their home is with us, because it isn't, and that would be awful for everybody. It's about giving people enough information for them to make an informed decision. And then our value to the business is that we send them 10,000 applications, not 50,000 applications.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's 40,000 people we don't have to disappoint by saying, sorry, you've wasted your time. That's X number of people that, you know, assessment centers and interview slots that we just don't need. We still hire the same number of people. We can be confident we're hiring people with the same capabilities and skills, if not more so, because we've given them more information about what they need. But we just take out a lot of that probably hidden cost at the moment. And that's where I think sometimes we, you know, as employer brand and marketing, you struggle to demonstrate really what you're saving or what you're producing. And I think if you can start to get at some of those hidden costs and show, you know, if the business can run 10% fewer assessment centers, don't need senior managers to attend quite so many interview slots, because you're being that much more targeted and precise in your communications, which is reducing the number of applications, but the conversions are getting better. Then the man hours and the costs attached to those man hours would very quickly rack up. You know, and that's not about saying, well, then we wouldn't need as many recruiters, because actually what those recruiters could do, which is what I imagine recruiters want to do, is they talk to candidates and guide candidates through, and it becomes a more human process, almost by just as a happy accident of the fact that you don't have as many candidates coming into the pipeline at the start. So if you can manage that down, then the recruiters have got 40,000 fewer, you know, automatic emails to sort out, and they can actually spend some time getting to know the candidates. So again, it's one of those things that seems to be a win all around, and is quite easy to say and obviously more complicated to actually do. But I think if that's kind of a philosophy and a guiding principle, then I think it helps you make decisions around where you want to focus your time and your effort, not so much, again, your budget, but you think about, where do I want to spend my hours? Where do I want to spend my efforts that I think will make the most difference to me, and it will be interesting work, but also make difference to the organization, and I can show them the impact that I'm having, because that will then start to release additional resources. I'll be able to have easier conversations about budget and things if I can demonstrate that I'm moving the needle, and if I'm not a cost out, I'm actually sort of generating savings, improving the experience, making things life better for hiring managers and recruiters. That's kind of where your happy place is, because then everybody wants to talk to you and help you and support you and want your ideas and stuff. So yeah, there's an almost limitless amount of impact I think you can have in an organization if you do this stuff well. The trick, as you said earlier, is to find a way to start small and start quick and show what you can do, and then be able to give the organization an indication of what would happen if that kind of change were delivered at scale. So if in this little pocket I've affected this change, imagine if that extrapolated across all of our early career programs, or across all of our regional offices, and that then I think is kind of the light bulb moment. So it's very much a sort of pick your pilot or pick your focus area, and go from there.
And I think although this is more difficult to track, but ultimately, it's about so for example, this podcast is nearly a year old, which is awesome. Can't believe the year's gone really quickly, but really slowly at the same time. It's very strange, but it's I kind of started off with it, by saying, started the podcast by saying that I looked at this Gallup State of the Global Workforce Report, and it's saying that 85% of employers aren't engaged or are actively disengaged, which equates to $7 trillion in lost productivity. It's just immense. So ultimately, I suppose it's certainly why I'm in doing what I do is about making sure that people do work in jobs that they enjoy and they're great at, and therefore adding value, because it's such a big part of our lives that you want to make sure you find the right relationship, going back to our previous relationship. So I think there is a deeper impact there, which is about productivity. Now, of course, tracking that is not straightforward. It's not the case of just dropping a tracking code somewhere. Yeah. But there is definitely that is an issue in terms of employee engagement and lost productivity, which of course can be addressed when employees are there in the organization, but can be helped by making sure the inconvenience and all the effort put up front is done as well.
Yeah, I think that's exactly so. The joy and the heartbreak of employer brand and what we do is you can claim that you've influenced an awful lot of things, but claim 100% of credit for virtually nothing, because there will always be other influences on top of what you're doing. So a lot of what you can help effect might have happened anyway without you, but probably less so, certainly less quickly. So it's the challenge for us with the reporting and I guess the metrics and things is that there is an element where I think it's likely to always be based on just a logic that says, we're seeing engagement rates, or we're seeing people being ready for promotions sooner. We're seeing these changes in our workforce since we started XY strategy over here. Now we can't, like you say, we can't track through and prove beyond doubt that X is causing Y, but we run the philosophy and we run back through the business case. And that was the challenge we set ourselves. That was what we said we believed would happen if we were doing a good job over here. If we were doing a good job to reduce application numbers, but bring people in who had a deeper and more profound understanding of what it takes to work here, then we felt that over that 24-month period, we would start to see come through trends like engagement rates going up. We'd start to see people being ready for promotion sooner because we'd just been bringing in people who are more ready to be productive quicker. So the data won't necessarily prove it, but we can go back almost to our original predictions and our original objectives and say, but we have done it and we're having the effect we thought we would. And I think we kind of will probably need leadership and stakeholders and budget holders that are satisfied that, we predicted Y would happen if we did X. Now, look, you've just shown me that Y is happening and we're doing X. So I think we have to take it on trust that X is definitely influencing the fact Y is happening. Yeah. You might be doing other things. It might not be the only factor, but I think you can confidently say that I believe that X is influencing Y, because that's why we started it. That was the objective when we set it out. So again, maybe going back to the original bit around when you're building a business case, or you're thinking about how do I start, being probably quite clear about what you expect to see will be interesting and will be important for the business to see, both in the short term, because probably in the short term there are some more tactical numbers you'll be expecting to hit and be able to show short-term impact, but you should also put in there some of the longer-term ones to say, I expect in time, for example, that if we're doing X, the performance of the company, and that might be stock price, it might be profit, it might be whatever, I expect that to tick upwards, because if we've got better people doing a more engaged job, we should make more money. That's the logical endpoint. And so start to, again, X can't take sole credit for whether the company makes more money or not. But I think you can say that one of the reasons we believe doing this over here is important is because it leads to this, which is better information, better understanding of our organization, which leads to this, which is when people are applying, it's people more likely to be successful because they know more, because we've given them better information about their fit and what it takes to work here. Therefore, those people will be more engaged because they're doing roles they understand better. It's closer to what they thought would happen. It's closer to that environment because we've been very clear. Therefore, they're more likely to stay. They're more likely to be productive sooner. Therefore, the logical end point is, so the company is more successful and makes more money. And who at the leadership table doesn't want to see that as a prediction? So again, it's, there are any number of other market factors and global pandemics that can screw that. But I think, if we're thinking about fundamentally, why do we say content marketing and sort of marketing in segments to talent pools is important? The end point is because we think the business will be more successful and will make more money as a result, and that goes beyond our world, and we can have our metrics for our world about engagement and applications and things. But really, the end point, as you say, it's all businesses are kind of built on the success of their people, and happier, better connected people will make you more money. I think that's pretty much an established economic fact. So definitely don't be afraid to put that in your business case.
Yeah, you're right. Well, thanks very much, Stephen. It's been great chat. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thanks for spending something with me, chatting about this really interesting topic. And
that's all right. I'll climb down off my many soapboxes now and let you get back to your Friday. Cheers, Chris. Yeah, it's good to talk. Really good to talk, and hopefully do so again soon.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed what you heard, then please feel free to subscribe, and it would be awesome if you could leave a review as well. It really does help.